Hi, everybody. How's it going? Sorry about the wait. We're here with Becky and Frank. Oh my gosh.
We're
Hey,
here.
guys.
How's it going, bud?
Hello. My good old pals.
I know. I'm just glad that we get a chance to hang out for an hour and we have an excuse to do so.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we've got our cat Prosciutto who's in the
Oh my gosh. Prosciutto? That's
yeah,
good.
we found her earlier this year. She's being our pandemic cat.
Yeah.
This was the best year to find or adopt cats.
It's nice to have something else outside of work and, you know,
yeah, absolutely.
Discontent to focus on.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. Boogie Boy's sleeping right there in the corner. Yeah, I got two cats, one in March and one in May.
Yes. Yeah, this one is our third. We found the other ones like 5 years ago for one and 4 years ago for the other.
Yeah.
And then this
right
one.
enough.
So yeah, we're just gathering them, you know.
It's normal.
You remember when we used to hang out?
Yeah.
Do stuff?
I remember outside.
I remember one of the best hangouts was Becky's birthday. It was a Space Jam themed birthday.
Oh yeah, the Space Jam birthday where there were a bunch of TVs outside playing Space Jam on loop for like 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. The next day, the dumpster caught on fire because of the party.
Yeah.
we were party to the dumpster fire. That was someone else in the apartment complex who didn't realize that you're meant to dispose of barbecue coals.
Okay.
Not in a paper Trader Joe's bag.
Yeah, not in a paper bag. We had to move our car because like we parked right next to the dumpster. So.
It was fine at the end.
And not disposing of Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny cookie jar.
We have a mug too.
In a mug. Oh gosh.
Yeah, very on model looking.
Yeah, we have a Michael Jordan Space Jam branded mug as well. We have all sorts of animation memorabilia around this house.
Yeah. Well, please, tell us a little bit about what you both do and tell us your story, how you got to working together. And it's various because like Becky, does the design and the artwork, and then Frank is the writer. And so like, tell us about your process and how you work together.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been, so we're a couple, as you can see by the fact that we're in a house together. During a pandemic, being together for wow, this coming up on 16 years.
Yeah.
Wow. 2020 was our 15th anniversary. We met at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm from New Zealand originally. I was flying over to promote work that I already knew Becky through like the internet and stuff, and we're starting to make comics together. And yeah, we went to Comic-Con to just try and like break in the industry, meet people, and we met each other. Yeah. And we've been together ever since.
The ultimate network.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like our background is in independent comics. We're doing web comics, like our web comic Tiny Kitten Teeth, and we did a kids book, Tigerbuttah, in 2010. That's kind of fashioned around like old school, like little golden books. But yeah, like we moved to Los Angeles 9 years ago, I guess it is now, because it's 2021. And we started to dabble in animation as well as continuing like comics, and Becky doing illustration and gallery shows and stuff. And then we started working in animation. And we kind of juggle everything still. We haven't done a whole lot of comics lately because we've been focused on like animation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of us. Like, do you want to go into like some of the jobs that we did?
Yeah, like we both worked on being PuppyCat. I did character design, and Frank did writing on it. We also did a Yo Gabba Gabba short.
That was our first thing in animation entirely.
Yeah, that was like the first time I like boarded or did character designs. Or I didn't know how it worked. Like basically, like it was already written, and we're just like, here's the budget. You guys figure everything else out, and we're like, what?
Yeah, so like you boarded it, designed it.
I did the designs painted, and my friend Jenny Goldberg had to like convert them into like vector illustrations.
Yeah, and then Meredith Gran animated.
Yeah, from Meredith Gran did all the animation.
Yeah, animated the entire short by herself.
How long ago was that? Or at least 2010s.
That would have been, so yeah, it was
9.
like whenever the last season of Yo Gabba Gabba
Okay,
was.
yeah.
Probably like 9 years ago.
Yeah, 9 years
Wow.
ago, 9 years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was our first like gig in animation. We're total outsiders. We just living in Los Angeles, like making comics and stuff, and that was kind of the start of our journey.
Mhm.
Yeah, like so both of us were on being PuppyCat, and then you started doing a bunch of other design work.
Yeah, like then after that, we did Capture Creatures together. We did a monthly comic for Boom Comics. It's kind of like Pokemon.
Yeah,
and then
I was doing like the Gumball comics at the time too.
Oh yeah, Capture Creatures.
Yeah, Capture Creatures was like a
You had your own
big
show for it, right? Your own gallery art show.
Yeah, we did 2 gallery shows for Capture Creatures. Becky did it as 151 or 152.
Something like that.
Yeah,
I think
152 gouache paintings of like each creature. It was like you did that over kind of like 2 years.
Yeah.
We did a big gallery show of all the creatures at Nucleus.
Yeah.
Now it's like kind of when people started to like notice our work, I guess.
Yeah.
It turns out just doing an astronomical amount of work. People are like, "Wow, look at look at that!" But yeah, like so.
Shows, yeah.
Yeah, we were doing that, and then Becky started doing props on Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Disney,
props and effects,
which we worked on started together.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We'd known each other for a long time, but that was the first time we worked on the same thing.
Yeah. And then I did character design on it. And then from that, I went over to Steven Universe. I worked on the movie and then also Steven Universe Future. And now I'm working on Adventure Time.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, like in the middle there, you did some concept art and character design for Lego Movie 2.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So is Adventure Time? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of just like slid in there between like all the other animation gigs.
Yeah.
Is Adventure Time like, is it specials or is it like the show coming back? Or
it's the specials.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay,
like
cool.
the Marceline one and the BMO one.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
great. I mean, I'm sure people are going to have questions about this, but can you talk a little bit about publishing and like creating your own books?
Yeah. Like, so we got into webcomics kind of like at the tail end of like the kind of big webcomics trend, where it's like the penny arcades and stuff like that. And for me, it was like kind of like the most realistic avenue to pursue, like, because I was living in New Zealand, and there's no real publishing industry. There's no like there is a publishing industry, but it's just very difficult to like make a living from it, and comics weren't as big a deal. So I was just like, well, the only place you can do it is put on the internet. And Becky and I were both inspired by like old animation concept art, and we're like French comics, like old French comic like album format, where it's like bigger pages, like and focusing kind of just like on making them pretty. And there weren't like a whole lot of people doing that on the internet. So yeah, we did Tiny Kitten Teeth, which isn't up anymore. You can find a book of it on the internet. And at some point we'll get it back up on our website. But for us, it was just like the way that people would see our work. Like, we just wanted as many people to see it as possible. And from that, we did Kickstarters. So we did a Kickstarter for the Tigerbuttah book, and we did a Kickstarter for the Tiny Kitten Teeth book. And that's how we actually like started to get published work out there. We weren't working with a major book company or anything like that.
Yeah.
We've since gone on to work with book companies. But all of our original stuff was like webcomics, self-publishing.
Cool.
And like ostensibly like going to conventions and promoting our work. So conventions aren't really a thing right now. On account of the world. But that was like instrumental in us getting noticed in both animation and in comics.
Yeah.
We met all of our like Nico, I believe we met you at a comic convention as well.
I think we met. I know that I saw you guys at a ton of conventions, because I mean that's kind of your careers for a while.
Yeah.
It was just like you made your living going to conventions throughout
exactly.
the year.
We do like up to 15 a year.
Yeah.
And
I remember
we do that and like tons of gallery shows too.
Yeah, tons of gallery shows, like freelance on everything, and conventions. And conventions was like kind of like the both sides of it, where it was just like getting people to see our stuff, but also it was like how we were making a living. Self-publishing our comics and selling those at conventions. And
I remember us specifically meeting. We went out to dinner with John and Callie,
Yeah.
but then I got to know you more by just visiting you at the conventions and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you
it's
moved here
cool.
eventually.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's like one of the nice things about conventions in general is like we met like a ton of our friends and like got to
Yeah.
know them at these shows. And you know, it's I don't know, I think the convention scene has like a really big place in my heart. Like
Yeah.
I've had so many good times there, but also it's like just the opportunities that have like come out of that for us. Like we wouldn't be living in Los Angeles working in cartoons if not for like running into people at conventions. Like the
Mhm.
first TV show we pitched is because we met a Disney executive at San Diego Comic-Con, and he was just like, "Hey, this is really cool." And
Yeah.
it turned out we had some mutual friends, and it was just like, yeah, that was like the first show we developed. Was because of that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
we were doing some early development work on DuckTales before they did like the most recent reboot.
Yeah.
And yeah, that again just came straight from a convention. Like
Yeah.
met someone cool, and we got a chance to like, you know, work on one of our favorite things in the world. So
I don't think it's a big deal to bring it up, but I know Becky, you did some stuff for Chip and Dale too, right? Some like early. I don't know if it
yeah,
really.
none of that was like official stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it was like we could kind of talk about a little bit. It was like pitch materials. Like,
Yeah.
because like we pitch a lot of cartoons.
Mhm.
Like we're currently developing our third original property.
Cool.
And we've done other, development for pre-existing properties. Some paid like DuckTales, some unpaid like Rescue Rangers. Where
Yep.
but that came out of we just like really liked it.
Yeah.
I was posting like Tailspin stuff online. And,
Yeah.
it's just
I just love
maybe
like
you see like a Disney fan art from us or something. It's
Yeah.
usually something we
Yeah.
pitch.
yeah. Whenever if anyone in the chat like follows Becky and Frank, I just love when you Becky-ify an existing character or something like it's just great.
Yeah,
Always in
you.
style.
Becky has like her own very unique take on
Yeah.
that stuff. It's awesome. Like I like to see him move one day.
Yeah. What were some of the challenges in publishing yourself and I guess for the Kickstarters and
Oh,
budgeting?
I will say, yeah, budgeting. And then also like if you're doing a Kickstarter by yourself, it's kind of awful. Like I would not recommend it. Like if you could find someone to fulfill the orders, because like shipping everything's always a nightmare. The shipping's going to cost way more than you think. Getting like all the materials and everything. Like
Often finding a print buyer is a very good idea. Like someone who knows the process of purchasing books from a book company, because it is like a fairly unique process of like working out what format it's going to be, how it's going to be like treated, hardcover, softcover, what kind of binding, like what kind of paper, what kind of printing process. I still don't understand all that stuff, and I've done it many times.
The Tiny Kitten Teeth book is we just sent a Moomin, like the Drawn and Quarterly Moomin books, and we're like, we want it to be this. We want it to look like this, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Like whatever paper they used and cover treatment, like just do that and add a ribbon, and we're good.
Yeah,
cool.
It's a really complicated process, and yeah, I think having someone who knows it with you is a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, budgeting I think is the most difficult thing because this is taxable income as well. You have to fill the books, you have to pay taxes on them, you have to ship them, and that's always more expensive because it turns out a big pile of paper is really heavy.
Yeah, and then like also international orders too, making sure you're like charging enough for that.
And now it's even more difficult. Like I know like a lot of my friends who have been doing like small stores and stuff. We turned our store off after the holidays, but now there's like a whole like new like tariff and customs system shipping stuff to the UK. I thoroughly recommend, like, we've tried to be jack of all trades like throughout our careers, and like a decade in, I like to pay people to do the thing that they're really good at, and then I let them do it rather than micromanage like that aspect of it. At the start, like we just didn't have a support system, we didn't know anyone. And then we got introduced to people who could do print buying, we got introduced to people who could fill Kickstarters, people who could ship stuff, like people who could even like help promote it like a little bit. But yeah, doing things by ourselves for that aspect of the industry was maybe a mistake, but it's a mistake we lived through, and the books came out and they look nice.
Yeah.
If if people are seeking advice on that, like, is get help from people. And
don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, exactly. It's because it's so much. Like, it's hard enough like making a book on your own, like writing it and drawing it. Like, that's
I think
a lot.
Also, if you want to do a Kickstarter, don't do too many tiers. It's so easy to be like, oh, I want to do like a sticker sheet too and all this other stuff, and then like you got to make sure you've ordered enough of that, and like,
It means
just
you gotta
keep
make
it
more,
simple.
make
like,
more stuff, ship more stuff.
keep
and
like
that's,
you can have the
Yeah.
book and then the book with a print and then the book with the print and stickers or something,
And
and
that's
that's it.
it.
Yeah.
Signed books, like
Keep it simple.
just like keep
Yeah,
it like
make it
relatively
manageable.
keep it like relatively simple.
Once the Kickstarter succeeded, how did you go about finding, I guess, a company? You just sought out a company to make the books and publish them?
So we try to work out all that stuff before we do all the Kickstarter stuff.
Okay.
Like, you need to have like estimates for like how much it's going to cost to print your books and everything, so you know what to price it at on the Kickstarter, because everything always ends up more expensive than you think it'll be. Kickstarter often include, like back when we were doing Kickstarters, it included the shipping price. Now you can kind of tack on a little bit more for like international shipping and stuff like that. But there are entire companies that will ship and fulfill your Kickstarter at this point for you. You just have to also, and this is, have it done before you do the Kickstarter.
Oh, that too. Yeah, like if you're gonna do a book or something,
The book needs
just
to
have
be-
it done.
The book needs to be done, and
Okay.
you need to, and also because like with printing presses, they can't just like fire that thing up when you feel like it. Like, you need to schedule your time where it's just like, hey, I'm going to get you the files on X date, and then they'll print it on X date and ship it to your fulfillment center on X date. Like, it's a lot of scheduling stuff. It's like, it's all logistics. Which is, as a writer, I'm not very good at that, and I feel like a lot of artists aren't very good at it either. So it's always just good to like seek out support for all of it. Like, our last thing that we did was like make that thing.
Yeah, so to say like
through PuppyCat.
Yeah, like that's who I recommend the most for that.
Yeah, there's a few other people out there doing it.
Yeah, I don't really know the names of the other
But
companies.
yeah, you'll find them if you want to find them.
Cool.
I think sometimes it like people see if you're even doing a Kickstarter, they'll reach out to you, but I don't know if any of those companies are like
real
good
or
anything. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait until we're able to do, galleries and stuff again.
Yeah, conventions. Like
Conventions.
I really miss that stuff. Like, I miss travel, and I miss seeing people.
Yeah, it was like very weird not to go to Comic-Con this year.
Yeah. It felt like I forgot to do something, or like,
like, and it's our anniversary as well, so we're like, it's always just like, oh yeah, the first day of Comic-Con, we always treat it as our anniversary, so our anniversary date like changes like each year. So it's like one of those things where it's like, I really did miss it. Oh, thank you. I just saw in the chat.
Thanks.
I didn't have a venue for my art galleries for the last few years because Meltdown closed. And then thankfully CTN jumped in, and they were like, we have a gallery, do you want to bring your shows back? I was like, great. So I did one show in January last year, and then the pandemic happened, so now I'm just waiting to do more.
I feel bad for just galleries and certain type of venues. We're just screwed.
It's like, it's really hard being any kind of like live entertainment venue right now. Like, we're very fortunate like working in animation, where it's like things fairly seamlessly transition to like working from home. It's a double-edged sword though, right? Where it's like I'm very tired. I'm very fortunate.
The work-life balance is trickier.
Because like it's kind of like, I finish my work day, and then I just keep on sitting in this exact same spot.
I do
find elliptical machine though.
Yeah,
that's in the living room.
It's like takes up like half the living room.
It
doesn't look good.
It's not really like but no one's here to see it.
I do kind of miss the excitement of the workday's over. I get to go home. It's sort of like, now I'm already home, but
I walk
like
to like the kitchen.
Doing like driving to work. I like kind of like just having that time.
Sure.
like,
just
Seeing outside.
I don't miss like the 1 hour like commute on the 5.
yeah.
but
But if it's like
I do miss
if
that
it's
like
not during the
separation.
winter and you're seeing like the sunset and stuff, you're like, looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it is kind of tricky where it's just like I kind of walk in here and it's light out, and then I walk out and it's like dark out.
Yeah. And I hate when it's like the sun sets at 4:30.
Yeah, I was not ready for winter
we
this
have to
year.
get rid of daylight savings.
We already have about a dozen questions, so we can jump right in.
Yeah, let's
sure.
go for it.
Cool. From Galen or Gallon. I've started work on my first long form webcomic. Is it important that the word bubbles can be read on mobile without having to zoom in? That's pretty restricting compared to what print media does.
Yeah, like so it's
Good question.
so we were fortunate that we never had to really worry about that because we were just doing like comic pages, just like a whole page. But like all of the Instagram comics that I see now are like breaking everything up into single panels.
Yeah, you're just like swiping through.
I
guess it depends on like what kind of comic. Like if it's like just like a gag comic, like that's how I usually
so more story-based comics and stuff, like people seem to like the infinite scrolling. It's so funny because like I remember like when Scott McCloud's like reinventing comics came out, and like Scott McCloud is like one of the best like comic theorists, and like I think his books are great, but reinventing comics, it was kind of just like one step too far into like and there's gonna be this infinite scroll thing, and I was just like, that's never gonna work. And then like Webtoon is all infinite scroll, like which is how like most people like are reading their comics are on Webtoon now. And I was just like, I guess he was right. But Daniel Cressetto is a wonderful artist who like came up with webcomics around the same time we did. And her Instagram comics are awesome. They're all story-based and character-based and stuff, but she's got like a really unique way of formatting like each panel so it can be read on like Instagram. Oh, and cool. I think that's like...
Do you know the name of her Instagram?
Daniel Cressetto.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if there was another different name.
Yeah. She's great. She did a comic called Girls with Slingshots, like back in the day. But yeah, her new comic is she's been posting on Instagram, and yeah, it has like a really cool format to it that's like a little different to kind of like how gag strips and stuff are formatting on that. But one thing, like, I mean, you can look at a variety of very successful like comic artists, and they just post their comics. And like, of course, you need it to be legible, but I think the most important thing is just getting out there in the first place. Like we weren't too worried about the format in which we posted. Or you look at like Emily Carroll, who is an incredible webcomics artist. Just post them on a website. You just gotta click them, and she makes it work. But it's just like it's a very simple website, and you just kind of scroll through them. So it's like people will.
Is it good to have a website too, in addition to like posting on like Instagram and stuff?
I mean, like everything's changed so much. Like I always think it's good to like have your own web presence that you own and it's like yours.
Yeah, just in case some platform just goes away.
Well, yeah, that's the thing where it's just like kind of like Tumblr was like the big thing, and it kind of dipped out, and Twitter was the big thing, and that kind of moved to Instagram. And it's like, when you rely on like a single platform, like there were so many people who were relying on like Snapchat and stuff like that, and like Snapchat isn't as big as a TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's good to have your own.
Blogspot was my spot. Yeah. So you think it's also a good idea to like just check out various web comics and artists and maybe see how they present theirs.
Yeah, and like because everyone does it differently, and then like one might resonate with like the type of work that you're producing.
Yeah. Cool. From Allison, so what do you both prefer, making comics or animation?
Oh, that's tricky. I mean, I feel like probably comics, just because like you get to control everything. Like for most of the jobs I have, I just do the character design, do it in black and white. But for a comic, it's like you're essentially like doing the storyboards, and you're cleaning it up, and the characters and the props and coloring everything. Like you can kind of control everything a lot more.
Yeah, like I think comics are a great format for putting out your singular vision of a work. whereas animation's a collaborative medium, and I love them both for those reasons.
Yeah.
Comics are hard to make money at.
Sure.
Like, we like to tell stories, and the format to me doesn't matter as much as like telling those. And ideally, you know, in the future, we'll be telling our own stories in animation. But comics is a way that you can get your story out now.
Sure.
And I think even for people who are trying to get into animation, it's a great way to start your kind of storytelling career, whether it be writing or storyboarding or illustration. Like, you can just do comics yourself. Like,
yeah. I feel like too, just like, if you just are starting out, like, just do things, just make it manageable. Like, just like, because then it's possible to finish. Like, I feel like a lot of people are like, I have this epic graphic novel.
It's 10,000 pages.
Yeah, and it's like, if you just do like a 10-page mini comic, you will probably get it done.
Yeah, it's like,
That's the other good thing about conventions is it was kind of a forced deadline of like, oh, we have nothing new. Well, let's just make a mini comic and we'll have it out for TCAF or something.
Yeah, like there's a great power in completing something. And I think
it's hard to a lot of
Yeah,
times.
even now, like 10 years in for me, it's hard to finish stuff. And telling short stories, I think, is a really good skill to have for both mediums, where it's like you get to be more economical in your storytelling. You get to work out like what's like the least amount of kind of moves that you need to get your point across. I think it's a really valuable skill to have.
Great. From Blue, what's the process like for pitching webcomics? And where should someone pitch webcomics beyond just straight up publishing on Webtoons or Tapas or a personal site?
I mean, if you want to get paid for comics, I mean, those are your avenues. Otherwise, you're starting your own small business, which is what we kind of did.
Yeah, like most people we know in webcomics like make their living through doing conventions, selling, like they'll put the comic for free online and they'll have like their web store, they'll go to conventions, and then on top of that they'll usually have a Patreon. That seems to be like a way like a lot of people we know are making their living.
It's hard, like, and I don't think there's any shame in doing your storytelling like on the side either. Like, making a living from webcomics is kind of all consuming in a way that's really difficult for me personally. We did it for a very long time and we did it successfully, but you know, there's no security in it. And I feel like doing webcomics as your thing on the side until you're kind of comfortable with it is a really good way to do it. Again, tell short stories, make it easy on yourself. Like, getting stuff done is really hard. And yeah, I wouldn't worry as much. If you want to pitch comics, the best way to do that is to have made a comic already. And that way you can like show your stuff to agents, and you can show yourself to book companies, and you can be like, hey, look, I've done this already. I want to do something like this for you. And here's my other ideas that I have. Making a living purely from webcomics outside of like a Webtoon type platform is really hard. And the beauty of webcomics for me always was it's just like I would just put what I wanted out there.
Yeah, I feel like like it's like you don't have to worry about gatekeepers. Like we have like with comics and animation have wasted so much time like trying to get things past gatekeepers, and with a comic you can just make it yourself, put it online. Just it's nice to have something that you can have control over. Like if you're just making stuff and hoping that somebody will give you money for it, like some sort of publisher, like
yeah, like
it can happen, but it's so I feel like it's like fairly rare. Like it just if I feel like a lot of the people I know that are successful are people that just put stuff out there for free, and then like Frank said, like got noticed and maybe approached by other publishers and stuff. But you just if you want to make it, you should just make it. Don't wait around for people.
Yeah, don't wait around to be paid for stuff. Like the idea is to make something that you're proud of and share it with other people. Like that's the goal. And you can do that whether or not some publisher is letting you do it. And I think that's important. And then that's the first step.
Literally what my therapist told me was like, just make art for yourself and don't try to like wait for gatekeepers and stuff. Like you'll get don't continue failing.
Don't
It sucks.
yeah, don't rush to like sell your stuff to
Yeah.
someone else, because
And it could happen. But it's fine if it doesn't.
yeah.
Both outcomes are fine. From Maury, what format do you recommend for indie comics? Web comic versus print?
Do both. Do
Do
everything.
both? Okay.
Yeah.
Do everything. Yeah.
Everything. Like
Don't need to choose.
yeah, you never have to make. That's the cool thing about comics, is you don't have to make a choice. Like if you do a cool web comic and then a publisher wants to publish it, they'll publish it. Or if you make a cool web comic and you want to put it in print, you can print it.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's I mean, that's the beauty of the medium, is you can put it anywhere now.
Cool. We have a few questions from Galen here. How do you both divide up your work? I've written a script for a comic series that's way too ambitious to ever draw myself. I think I might need to hire more than one artist to make it happen, but I have no idea how to coordinate that, how much it will cost. Yeah, so how do you both divide up your work?
Oh, I mean, like, well, I write and Becky draws.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
For comics right now, I mean, we're doing mini comics. Like we're literally doing 12 to 16 page stories, and we've barely managed to do one in the past year, considering life, and also like we're developing on top of having full-time jobs in animation.
Yeah.
And that's really tricky. But I would say take your incredibly long story, choose your favorite part of it, 16 pages, find an artist, ask for fair rates. You can look around on the internet and you can find out what a fair rate to pay an artist is, and go from there. Just always start so small.
The Animation Union Guild website might list comic rates on there, suggested comic.
It does, but I think it's more accurate on like Twitter if you start like looking around.
Just search for comic rates.
Yeah. Because like I think that's the best way to do it. But yeah, starting something really small is like, first of all, it's a great achievement writing a very long script, because I've never managed to do that, and I've been doing this for a really long time. But it can be fun just writing the script to write a script. I've got some stuff that's like hanging out in drawers that may never get drawn, and I learned stuff from making them. But the goal for me is like always to have my stuff seen, and what's the most practical way of getting it done. And for me, it would just be like, if I had a 1,000-page script, I'd take my favorite 12, 16 pages, find an artist, pay them a fair rate to draw it, and see how it's received. And then you can kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Like,
I think, and to help you out also with finding an artist, I just find Twitter's super helpful, and like, just go to artists, see who they're following, just see who pops out at you and whose style you like, and reach out to them.
I mean, if you're looking at like comic artists and they say they're looking for freelance, Twitter accounts,
I mean, I feel like too, like if you look at companies like Oni and Boom and ones like that, you could probably, like, if there's an artist you like, you might be able to find them online and see if they want to do any work.
Yeah. And also I think it's always good to like look at other people who are kind of coming up with you in the industry at the same time.
Sure.
Because like, some of those artists that Becky's talking about may be unattainable. They're too busy. They only want to work on published stuff and so on and so forth. Look to your friends. Like look to other people who are trying to break in, who, like you can do it together.
Yeah.
I found this journey much more rewarding having someone with me the entire time. So.
Yeah. you're equals, and you were equally in the same spot.
Yeah. Like we're both like breaking in at the same time, and that's all our friends that we made too. Like it was just like Becky in college, and me meeting other people who are doing the same thing at conventions and stuff. You kind of meet people at the same stage, like where you're at.
That's a great piece of advice. Just make stuff with your friends.
Yeah.
People,
it's fun. It's more fun that way.
From Maury, is there a different perspective to character design for animation versus comics?
Yeah.
A different perspective? Wait.
Well, what's the difference between animation and comics character design?
Oh, okay. Yes. I was thinking of literal perspective.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what? I guess, yeah. Like, so for comics, since I would draw my own comics, I would often not even have any model sheets. I would just feel like
in Capture Creatures you did though.
I did, yeah, but even then, if I did make a model sheet, it would usually just be like a front 3/4 view.
Yeah.
That would be it, because I'd be like, I know how I like want to handle everything else. I have it in my mind.
If you're the only person drawing these characters,
Exactly,
then
exactly. Yeah. But like an animation, because like it's being handed over to an animation studio that you're not interacting with, like then you need to draw like way more information. So
Yeah.
you need to draw the characters at different angles. You need to show like what the bottom of their foot looks like, what their like open mouth look like, what their teeth look like. Eyelids. Yeah, you got to include everything just to be safe. But I guess it could be similar though. If I don't know if there are many instances where you're drawing a comic with multiple artists, but it's like, I guess it could be good if you are doing that and you want to like just have a turn for that, or even just for yourself. If it could be helpful to have that. I feel like if I were to do a graphic novel now, I would probably make a full turn of a character first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of something that you're bringing back from animation to comics.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and also to keep in mind, now that we're talking about career things, like animation character design is a job, whereas comics character design isn't.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the art side of comics is all piled together.
Yeah, it's usually either like one artist, or like a lot of the bigger comics will have an inker, a colorist,
lettering,
someone, the penciler, the drawer,
the artist,
planning
for colors as well.
Yeah.
The only comic I can think of that has a ton of artists is, they don't have a model sheet, but Bart Kira, the Simpsons Akira, where it's like, I mean, it's a different artist each page.
Yeah, the joy of that is like the lack of model sheet.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's the reverse, where there's lack of model sheets. Cool. I like this question. How do you meet people at conventions without being a nuisance? Ooh. I guess if you were to put yourselves on the other side and you're meeting Becky and Frank, like what do you like to see in people at comic conventions that wouldn't, that's more welcoming and wouldn't bug the crap out of you?
Everyone needs to relax.
Yeah. Try to smell good. Try to not smell bad.
I mean,
that's key.
I mean, when I was coming up, I didn't really want anything from anyone.
Yeah.
Like I was just like out there like trying to make friends with people my age who were at the same stage of industry as I was. Like I was definitely going out and I was meeting artists who were more established than I was, and like people who I was like fans of, and I was probably insufferable. But for the most part, like everyone who's come up to us at conventions is like very nice and respectful. But it's tricky, right? Like a lot of your friends in comics you made like coming up through art school.
Yeah, or then also I was thinking too, where sometimes it's helpful too if you've like interacted with somebody online first, and then you can come in and be like, hey, like I'm so and so on Twitter, like we've talked a bunch before.
Hey,
that was helpful.
Yeah, like, and there has to be someone else out there who's like looking for a friend too, because like
yeah, like, and just I feel like just have a casual chat. Like if you're gonna become friends, it will happen. Like you'll realize you have like similar interests and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like a lot of our friends like we knew online before we like met them in person. It's like we had a whole bunch of like buddies pre-Twitter years, from just like forums and friends of friends and stuff, and then you hang out like a little bit more at a convention, and you get introduced to people, and then you're buddies for like 10 years.
I think super popular people at Comic Cons probably get it worse. With like creepy fans and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like we haven't really had to deal with much of that because we kind of fly under the radar for the most part. Like, but yeah, like I think also as like creators, like being aware of that like power dichotomy is like really important. Where it's just like, framing that like kind of like reader and artist like relationship, like where like as creators, we've become friends with like people who've just met at a show, but at the same time it's just like a lot of creators are at a convention to meet their fans, sell some stuff, and do industry work pretty much, and they may not necessarily be out there like looking for a buddy, so it's just like being aware of that kind of like difference. And also as a creator, it's I always try to be aware of like what people want from me. and how I can best meet their needs as well. So it's like it's really tricky, and it's also something that comes with practice, because I'm sure I was awful at my first few conventions. Like I'm sure I was like screwed up.
Yeah.
Like I'm very oblivious, and and also like coming from like a small country and going to like a convention with like 100,000 people, like it was a lot. And you know, I probably made an ass of myself hundreds of times. But people have been very nice about that somehow, and I thank them for that.
You gotta learn. It takes practice.
Yeah, you gotta learn. Just try and be self-aware. Just be polite.
I know it can be difficult for some people, but I mean, I always just say, just treat them like another human being, because that's all they are.
Yeah,
you know, if you're a super big fan of this person, you know, try not to treat them like a god or a big celebrity. Just talk to them like normal.
Yeah.
And just be yourself. It's cliche, but it's true. Just be yourself.
Yeah, and like the creators that I've like looked up to like since I was a kid, like I've met a number of them at conventions now, and it's cool. We're not like best friends or anything, but you know, like the fact that like Jeff Smith remembers my name is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, but it's not like we go out and like have a beer or anything. Like, hey Jeff, good to see you.
Yeah.
and that's the extent of our relationship.
And I never really like talk about or bring up business until much later, to when we already have hit it off. And like, I don't know if this is like, whether it's meeting at Comic-Con or if it's bumping into each other at a party or something like that. It's just like, you know, talk to the person first, and, you know, get to know them, have them get to know you. You hit it off first, and then, you know, bring up like, hey, so you want to stay in contact, or like, you want to exchange emails? You know, that's when you kind of bring that part up.
Yeah. And like,
don't have it be the first thing that comes out of your mouth.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my
exactly.
God. I will not say names, but we had this one person at New York Comic-Con that literally, I think it was when we first moved to LA. He came up to us. He's like, "Can I have all of your animation contacts?"
Like literally, that was like the extent of our interaction. And I was just like, no.
And then he like insulted our friend's outfit. Like, it was wild. It was very wild.
Yeah.
That person just couldn't read the room and just couldn't, you know.
No, it's just, and like we just like broken into like animation too.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know anybody.
It's like I have nothing to give.
Yeah.
A lot of people will treat us like, you know, we're in a position to hire someone, and I'm not.
There's so many times I recommend friends and I don't even get a response from like the people I email.
Yeah, like, you know, we try our best, like, but you know, all that stuff.
I feel like at most control. I've gotten someone freelance before. Like, that's taken how many years to be in animation?
Yeah,
someone's like, oh, okay.
We're super established. I think I've got like one friend, one gig.
Yeah. Same here. I think I've helped like 2 friends in 10 years.
Yeah, I've tried.
It actually works out. Yeah.
I think
I used to be.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I used to be terrified because everyone was like, find big people, shake hands, business card, elevator pitch. I was like, I'm way too shy for that. But then I heard creators say they hate that stuff.
Yep.
They don't. I mean, as long as you just, you know, it's not. They don't hate it as much as if you just have a normal conversation with them and treat them like.
Yeah. Also, it's just like, as a creator, it's just like I can't do anything with pitches.
Yeah.
Like if we're in a situation where we're reviewing portfolios, like at a CTN or something like that, where the idea is like you're there to like review a portfolio and stuff. Yeah, like I'll look at your stuff and I'll tell you what I think, but it's like I can't do anything other than give some probably like just a little bit of advice.
Yeah, maybe some art critique, but that's pretty much all I
can
do.
Exactly.
Yeah, like a lot of artists aren't in position to hire people.
Yeah, a lot of artists aren't. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean they're great at reviewing your portfolio or telling you if your idea is good or not.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, pitching stuff is like.
But it's like, it's hard to do.
That's a whole other thing. Like pitching anything at a convention, I think is like a mistake. Like
it can be tough.
Yeah, like honestly, it's like publishers, like most of them aren't even allowed to listen to you. Like
yeah, like legally, they
exactly.
Can't.
So like they'll have like open pitches and stuff like that sometimes, and you know, people have managed to get opportunities through that. And you know, if there's open pitches and you're comfortable doing that type of thing, like go for it. But like
Can you-
pitching to me, like I
do have a
can't do
question
anything. I
for
can't help
like
anyone.
convention. Like, let's say you wanted to pitch to Oni or something. Could you just go up to their booth and just be like, I would like to pitch like a like, can you get like a card?
I wouldn't do that.
Like, I mean, I don't know.
I certainly
just,
would not. I would not. I've done stuff like that. Like
I'm like, I can't even remember how we've gotten, because it's like we know some people at these.
We met a friend of a friend, and they're like been posting our work online for free for years, and they were tangentially aware of us, and we had a polite conversation, and then like I could either bring up or they could bring up if they wanted us to pitch or not. Like, but again, there are like pitch fests, you know, like Nickelodeon took open pitches at like Comic-Con and like people do stuff like that. But if you walk up to a publisher's booth or something like that, at best you could get a card and you could end up like cold emailing in a pitch. But I don't think your success rate would be very high with that.
No.
It's better to like just make your thing and put it out there, and then, you know, if you get like an email of like an editor or something like that from them, you could email them your comic and just be like, hey, it was nice meeting you. Here's the thing I already make, because that makes it so much easier. If you're just like, here is something I have done, I can do that for you.
It shows that you're capable of doing the work and finishing something.
Yeah, because
it's like it doesn't matter how good your idea is if you like won't make it. Or finish it. Yeah, like seeing something through to the end is really, really difficult. But if you can't do it without like the resources of a company behind you, it might be the wrong story for this like period of time. Like,
sure. Definitely don't show up to the studio, hanging out outside the studio doors, waiting for employees to walk to their cars to go home.
No.
And hound them down.
This firsthand.
Oh no.
Some guy was hanging out outside of Nickelodeon animation studios, grabbing employees at the end of the day as they were going home to their cars, and said like, hey, you know, how do I work here? Or like, hey, can I, you know, have a meeting with you, or want to look at my portfolio? He was just trying to hawk his portfolio. And that's just the cringiest cringe that ever cringed.
Don't. And like,
literally off the street. I'm not gonna pick some guy off the street.
Yeah. Also,
and
it's
hire
like,
him.
No.
I think part of it is trying to like enter interactions without a sense of entitlement. No one owes me a job in animation.
Yeah.
However, you know, I do want to tell my own stories, and I can do that by myself. And I can put them out on the internet, and I can see what other people think. And you know, nothing can stop you from creating. Like, creating and having a job are two very different things. And one does not preclude the other. If you want to get into character design, start designing characters.
Yeah.
If you want to write a comic, write a comic. If you want to make a comic, write a comic and hire someone, or learn to draw, or like just do something small, one panel, one page. Just make it easy on yourself. Like, it does. You
can make a living. We know people that make a living doing stick figure comics. Like, you don't have to be like an incredible artist or anything.
They have nicer houses than we will ever have. Like,
stick figure cartoons.
Everyone's journey is super different as well. Like, ours is a particularly unique and weird one, but so is everyone's. Like, you know, for every person who went to like SVA or CalArts and then moved out to LA, and they were a PA, then a board revisionist and stuff, like that's a career path. But for every person like that, there's like a weirdo like me who was at a comic convention who met a friend, and then my friend got a TV show. And then they were just like, hey, do you want to take a writing test? Like, or, you know, like right now I'm working on 3 different projects, and I'm not full-time on anything. I've never been a full-time go to a studio animation person.
That's most writing though, right?
So I've done so like right now I'm writing for a TV show as a freelancer. I'm writing shorts for another studio, and I'm doing my development, and that compromises my full-time job. But at other points, it's like I've been working on a comic, and I've been freelancing, or I'm part-time at Tycho, which is like where I work most of the time. And that's kind of different. Like animation writers, you kind of take like a different path sometimes. like rather than just be staffed all the time. So it's like everything's different, and you know your barometer for success like really varies.
How we answered your question?
Yeah.
Maybe.
We kinda
Yeah,
went
I'm
off
like,
on a
wait, what was the
tangent
question again?
Oh, it was how do you not be a nuisance at comic conventions?
Oh.
Yeah,
I
be
think
nice.
we hit it.
Yeah, just be nice.
Anonymous asks, what do you recommend for bringing attention to your webcomic? How do you grow an audience?
Making it
Just
often.
make it
Yeah.
often,
Yeah, and like, I mean, a lot of people. What is there a specific app you use for just like getting things ready to post around the same time?
Yeah, like I've used like different like social media managers like Buffer or Hootsuite and stuff like that. But ultimately it's just making the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to get a water.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Got an itchy throat. Oop. But yeah, like just making stuff frequently. Post a lot.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about 2021 is you can make something, and as soon as you post it online, the entire world can see it. So
Exactly.
you know, it's instant. You can get instant feedback and instant viewership.
And sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's bad. You know.
Yeah.
Like that like instant gratification from posting something can be really powerful. But it can also like I don't know, it can drive you to kind of search for likes as opposed to what you like.
Sure.
I think
Yeah, like what
I think telling a story that personally resonates with you,
yeah,
and telling it at like a reasonable pace so people can engage with it. I mean, that's about all you can really ask for.
Yeah. Make something that, I mean, with all my projects, this is how I go about it. I'm sure it's the same with you, is you're making something for yourself and something that entertains you. And if an audience along the way happens to find it, perfect. That's great.
Yeah. And if not, you made something and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, or
Make another idea.
or if you're really passionate about this project, just continue pursuing it. Like, because I don't know, like I make stuff so it will be read. Like I like that's part of what satisfies me about like making art. But you have to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
Like ultimately you have to do something that you're happy
Don't
with.
become an algorithm. Don't become one of those word t-shirts.
Yeah, like and I understand like you need to get recognition for your stuff, like, you know, in part of cultivating a career. Like I get that. And there's really no secret or way to game the system. Like where it's just like some people, like I remember there was like a couple weeks ago, there was like kind of like, here's the stuff that will, you know, activate the Instagram algorithm. Like where it's just like you post X amount of stuff and you do reels and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I never want to post anything to Instagram ever again.
Yeah.
like I was like, this is exhausting. Like at what point is like, but you know, if it's your job, it's one thing, but if it's, you know, your passion, it's another. Like yeah, like, but yeah, it is hard to get into this. Like
and I feel like also being kind to yourself, because it's so easy. There's so many people you'll see that post like a freaking like animation every day or something, and you're just like, if that's something you're not able to do, that's fine. Like it's like I feel like, because like otherwise you'll just never be satisfied with what you're making if you're gonna always compare yourself to like certain people that have like tons of followers and like post a huge amount. Like that's not, some people can do that, but not everybody, and that's fine. Like
like,
understand your limitations.
I can't write as much as some of my friends do. I had like a weird barometer where it's just like I didn't know a whole lot of other writers for a while. I only knew artists, and I saw how much artists work, and I was just like, oh, I should be doing that as a writer. And it was like a super toxic way of working where I would like try and force myself to write for 8 hours a day. And then I came across like other writers' schedules, and it's just like, oh, like if you're like sitting down writing prose, maybe a couple hours. And I was just like, oh, wait a second, I'm not like a weird story robot who just like churns stuff out. Like I'm a full human being, and I like that people work differently and find what works for you. But yeah, like it is hard breaking through and getting noticed. It really is.
Especially now when it's like there's
everyone
so much competition too, and like
I try not to think of like other people doing that stuff as competition, because there are plenty of people who don't produce that volume
That's true.
or get
yeah.
those likes.
Plus,
And
like, it's not like anybody's just online following one person. Like,
also,
it's
no
not-
one, also no one
That's
gets paid in
true.
likes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
no one
that's
gets paid
true,
in
too.
Twitter followers. There are plenty of people with like 250,000 followers who don't have a gig in animation.
Yeah.
There are people who don't even have a Twitter account who work consistently. You've just never heard of them.
Yep.
Like, it's like,
Yeah.
and like, honestly, most of the time I want to be that guy. Like, like the hidden person who's just like working quietly.
Yeah. Cool. This is from Grace. Question here. Do you have any advice for, and you both pitched TV shows, right?
Yeah, like
You
we've
pitched show
been
ideas?
paid.
Okay.
We've been paid to develop TV shows.
Great.
We're on like third.
Can
Development deal.
Can you talk about your advice for pitching comic or show ideas and anything you've learned from the pitching process that you didn't know going into it?
I would say, like, once again, like, just make stuff. Just
Yeah.
like, just go in with, well, I guess you don't want to go in with too much material, but it's like, for example, like, one of our more recent pitches, we did a bunch of like comics in there, because I feel like you want to show as much visually as you can to show, like, this is what the show can look like, this is how the characters interact. If you just have a pitch with like characters standing by themselves, it doesn't.
We've
like,
done a few of those.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this comes from experience where it's just like, nobody, if it's just too much text and hardly any pictures, people don't really want to read it. I think one of the best pitches I've ever seen is the Adventure Time one, because it's basically a storybook, and it's not super polished either. It's just like you see the characters interact, and there's not too many words on each page. And like I said too, like having comics, like I'm pretty sure the Star pitch had comics in it as well. It's just like an easy way to show, like, this is what the world looks like here the characters interact. And I think it also shows you're more serious about it too, to just have finished work there.
Yeah, it's the thing that I've learned pitching. I've learned a couple things pitching animation. Let's dig deep for a second. So we'd done some development work on some pre-existing properties. We were developing two of our own ideas to go to short, and neither of them panned out. And we worked on it for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that, I was pretty depressed because, I poured heart and soul into my ideas and my stories that I wanted to tell, and, I wasn't going to get to show them to anyone. And it was a bummer. And I realized at that point that I didn't want to have my stuff just like locked away, where it's just like, for me, it was more important for people to be able to see what I did. So on our next project, which I won't name, so because it would give away what we're actually developing, we just did what we wanted. We made like little comics and stuff, and we weren't gonna let it just like sit on a desk somewhere or just like,
yeah, we had like no intention to really like make it anything more.
You got to keep something for you as a creator. You have to keep something for you, and naturally, of course, this is the one that's resonated the most with people, and as a result, we've been developing it for close to 2 years now, and it's going really well. But it's like, it's not going to go away this time. Like we have like other stories we can tell with it. Like we could still make a comic of it if we wanted to. Like that was one of like the most important things for me in pitching animation. Is it's like, I remember hearing like the most recent one is like the producer of Queen's Gambit pitched it for like 30 years or something crazy like that. Or like Phineas and Ferb was pitched for like a decade. But they kept on making other stuff. They always kept something for them, and they always continue working in the industry and stuff. But don't let people take your stuff away from you.
Yeah.
And because like it's important to have your stories out there regardless of what the format is. And I understand like my dream is to make a cartoon, like, but I very rapidly realized my dream was not to let someone else stop me from making a cartoon.
Yeah.
And to help like we've had amazing interactions and like worked with great like development executives. We've pitched to awesome people who didn't pick our stuff up, who've given us great notes that have made our work like a lot better. We've had really healthy relationships with executives, and I consider a lot of them my friends. And it's not their fault that it doesn't happen. Sometimes people are just looking for different stuff. But
oh yeah, so much of it is just like timing, I feel.
there's a lot of luck involved in this stuff, and you know,
it's like winning the lottery.
Yeah, but you can increase your luck by doing it more, pitching more often, making more stuff. But it needs to be something that's important to you, and it needs to be something that's important for you to share with everyone else. But my biggest piece of advice, having pitched animated series now for 9 years,
oh my god,
is just do it yourself. Just
there was something that I remember Ian Joe's quarterly saying, where he's just like, because people would ask him about that too, and he's like, just pick, like, you can learn how to animate, you could just make your own short. Just make your own short.
Just do it. Just like the next thing I do is not going to be a pitch, it's going to be a short. The next thing I do is going to be a comic. It's not going to just be a pitch. Like make the thing. And if they want it, cool. And if they don't, well, they weren't going to take it anyway. But at least then you have something to show for it and for all your effort, rather than something that's like literally locked away and you can't do anything with for a couple of years. Because like life's too short for that. And you know, if you want to make stuff, like seriously, regardless,
you can hire people, but you could also learn stuff too.
Becky's learning to animate right now.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I read a book.
Yeah, she read a book and she's practicing. And
I could never animate. It just seems so hard.
Yeah, people
I mean, I've tried.
Like, we've worked with like awesome animators, and it's like, I don't think you're ever going to be the person who animates an entire short by themselves.
No, that's a nightmare.
But there are people out there who exist who can do that, and they can help you with that. And just make it.
Yeah.
That's what I did for Ollie too. I was pitched for 5 years, and then I just got tired of it.
And that worked.
Yeah,
it worked. like that's the thing, is like people got to see it and they got to like it, and you didn't have to keep on asking like, oh, when's someone gonna give me the chance to do this?
Yeah.
Well, just you can't have your heart broken over and over again.
Yeah.
I have. It's really stressful. And it makes you kind of like, I don't know, but I felt like I wasn't very cool to be around for a while. I was so bummed out. Like, and you know, it's nice to be excited about making stuff again, even, you know, in this environment. It's just like, I work on little mini comics in the morning before I start on my animation work. Like, you know, it's like,
that's the other thing that, like, once again, also everyone in animation go to therapy. But like, it's just like, it's first thing in the morning, work on your own art for 15 minutes. Because if you, especially if you're already working full-time as an artist, if you don't do that first thing, you're just gonna keep procrastinating on it. Other things are gonna be more important. You're not gonna do it. So it's like, I feel like even if you're working in animation or even on your own comic or something, it's still very important to make your own personal art and just set aside, even if it's like 5 minutes a day, just like first thing in the morning.
You don't even need to tweet it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
like, I see all over Twitter and Instagram, they'll say, here's my warm-up. Did a little warm-up before work.
Yeah, like a bunch of people do that. I think it's smart. I think it is good for your creativity. I think it's good for your personal self-worth. Like, I think it's, you know, good to do something outside of like a corporate structure. Like, where it's just like, because like I love working in animation, but you know, you often work.
It's nice to have something with no stakes attached, where you're just like, I don't.
Oh my god.
Nothing. It doesn't matter if anybody else likes this or not.
There's no one to let down, including yourself, which is great. Like,
this is a question for Becky, and it's okay if I'm not sure how much you can add to this. From Jeremiah, what are some tips you have for layout and composition? I don't know if that's too broad a question or. Yeah,
I mean, that's like kind of more, I guess, like a storyboard or like background question.
Okay.
I mean, I do like backgrounds for illustration and comics. I try to think if I have any tips for that. I mean, I think working in just like general shapes to begin with, kind of like see what works. Like if you just start out simple to make sure composition's working. I mean, typically having like the horizon line lower or higher and not directly in the middle is good.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's any like specific guides I've seen. I want to say like the How to Storyboard the Simpsons Way might cover some of this. That's like just a great guide for everything.
Is that a book?
No, it's
Or-
just online. It's just like,
Okay.
I think a PDF. Like, it was Brad Bird and one other like
Oh.
Simpson director from like the classic Simpson era, and it's just like basic storyboard advice. But I feel like it's also like useful for comics.
I think it's
Cool.
useful for all storytelling. Like I've looked at it too, and I don't even know how to draw.
Can you repeat what that was?
I think it's how to storyboard the Simpson way.
Okay.
There's also a King of the Hill guide too that's pretty good.
Oh, I think CTN just linked it. Thank you. Oh, cool. Great. I'll look at that later.
I want to say composition is in there. I know a lot of people will add I know some comic artists will work over grid, I think, to kind of help out with composition.
Yeah, people do like a lot of perspective grids and stuff like that.
That too, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I hope the Simpson guide helps.
Yeah, I've
But
seen
yeah,
a lot
I
of
still kind of struggle with composition sometimes. Like my day-to-day work is usually just drawing like characters standing there. So when I'm like, working on an illustration or comic, it kind of, I think, takes me a little longer just to like figure out like if a composition is working or not.
And I've seen a lot of beginners and first timers who don't draw the grid yet, or they don't know to draw the grid yet. Like the perspective and everything. So that's good thing to learn
Yeah.
and to polish. Cool. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
That was it.
Okay. Cool. Just making sure. Question from Jess. Not sure if this has been asked yet. What are your feelings about Webtoon and Tapas or Tapas? Is there one objectively better than the other? Which one's more sustainable?
I mean, I think relying on one platform is always a mistake.
Okay.
I understand like people like with Webtoon, I believe some people are contracted and people have like exclusivity agreements and stuff like that. But if you're just putting your own stuff up on there, if it's like an open submission kind of deal, I mean, I would pursue every avenue. Like, yeah, if that's realistic, because I haven't posted stuff to either of those platforms. I understand that they're both like, that's where a lot of people are making their living as webcomics artists right now. And it's cool that there's like a lot of like genre fiction that's otherwise being kind of excluded from like mainstream comics in America, like on there. I think that's awesome. But I would never give all of my stuff to one person. I've done that before.
I've never even heard of Tapas.
Yeah, there's like
there's also like Hiveworks or something.
That's a collective. I don't know. Yeah.
Cool. From Allison, Becky, do you do all of your art online, or is any of them drawn on paper? I'm sure you have art everywhere.
So I do for like my like day job, like I do that all just like digitally. But usually like if I'm doing like illustration or comics, I'll rough things out on paper first. I just feel like for like coming up with ideas and sketches, I just have to do it on paper. Like that's just personally how I work.
I mean,
and then I'll
you
usually
came up doing traditional work 100%.
Yeah, like I do I still for illustration I do it all in gouache paint. But like I'll usually just do a sketch and then take a photo on my phone and then work on that like over that on Photoshop. Yeah, it's just,
that's exactly
the
what
way
I do.
Yeah, like if you're looking at like a print of Becky's, it's probably like a gouache painting.
Yeah, I'll draw on paper and I'll just take a picture with my phone and then clean it up online.
Yeah, like some people
on the computer.
Like, I think it's like however you came up drawing, like and what's most comfortable to you.
It's like like I know lots of people that 100% digital or other way around.
Yeah, and you're kind of both.
Yep.
But yeah, I know even like writing, it's like sometimes I enjoy just writing in a notebook.
Yeah.
I feel like just whatever works best for you. Like as long as it's working, then keep doing it.
You should get out the old typewriter, Frank.
I used to. I used to have a typewriter. I had my grandfather's typewriter back in Canon. And when we're all like teenagers who are like coming up, and you have your like fantasy of being like a writer with a capital W, maybe I'd like to have that typewriter for a minute. Now I just have like a bright pink gradient keyboard.
Let's see here. From Allison, what drawing program do you recommend for creating comics? Online drawing program.
I mean, like I forget what it's called now, but they changed the name of it. Like Manga Studio, I believe, got renamed, right?
Yeah.
It's like Clip Studio like now or something like that. I know a lot of people who dig that. Like you do Photoshop.
Yeah, I do Photoshop.
You do Photoshop for like
Cool.
everything. You even storyboard in Photoshop. Like
yeah, it's just what I know.
yeah.
I see Clip Studio.
Yeah,
but I know
Clip
a lot
Studio.
of people that prefer Clip Studio over Photoshop.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people who are really.
And I think it's cheaper too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are really digging like a whole lot of those like iPad Pro apps.
Yeah, that
as well.
too.
Like that's something we haven't really like.
I have an iPad Pro that I got for sketching, but then I'm like, I just like sketching on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone says iPad and Procreate.
Yeah, Procreate. Yeah, people love Procreate.
But if you have an
There's
iPad.
there's a ton of like different workflows now. Like, I'm jealous of the people who are coming up now because it's like, I remember it's just like, there was Paint Shop Pro and Corel Paint, and then Photoshop. And then like people kind of gone like Painter for a bit for like digital painting and stuff like that. And there's Manga Studio. Now there's just like this whole like
I just
it's like
had one of those like
up.
horrible like the tablet with the pen that wasn't on the screen.
Oh, there's like a regular tablet.
Hit programmed the GIMP, which was like a horrible version of Photoshop.
Oh yeah, because your brother like forced you to use Linux or something, right?
Yes. don't use Linux.
Yeah.
There's nothing quite like there's nothing quite like a sketchbook.
Yeah.
Paper.
Yeah, I mean, like we've got bins and bins of them around.
Yeah, I'm just like sketching on Post-its. I feel like there's almost, for me, like less pressure. Like if I'm coming up with ideas to like, I mean, ideally, I'd like to go to a cafe or outside of my house, but like, just like sketching on like Post-its.
Yeah.
It's like if you mess up, you just throw it out. I don't know. I mean, you can do the same thing digitally, but for some reason, there's more pressure for me.
Yeah, I mean, on any cartoon series, there's going to be a whole wall of Post-its that the crew just draws on, and gag drawings and stuff like that, and it's just easy. It's just easy to draw on a Post-it, just stick it up, and just to make your teammates laugh.
Yeah, I only draw on Jackbox. Yeah. That's the only way you can make me draw.
Let's see. So how do you both manage working on multiple projects at once? I find what's that? Poorly?
Poorly.
I don't recommend it.
I find I tend to obsess over one project and have difficulty going back and forth.
It's really hard.
It's tricky to switch gears for sure.
Yeah, like
it might be tricky for different reasons. Yeah. It might be tricky for different reasons, writing or art.
Yeah, like
going back and forth.
Yeah, it's really tricky, like because like right now I'm like writing on 2 commercials. I'm doing commercial animation, writing like 2 commercials, and for a TV show, and doing development writing, and trying to write my own mini comics sometimes, and it's really hard to like create that delineation, especially right now when we're all stuck at home. Yeah. I felt like it's funny, for a while there I was just working on my mini comic in the kitchen in the morning. Right now we don't have a kitchen table because there's a computer on it, but it's like I would just go out there and I'd work on it in like a notebook, just so I could create like a physical space. I felt like that was really helpful for delineating between my personal work and my like work that I'm doing for my job.
So like different rooms depending on what project it is.
Yeah, having a schedule's nice. Like for one of our projects, we have a regular like weekly meeting about it.
Okay.
And I think that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah,
let me just ask this because this ties into the next question. Cool. Blue asked, how do you keep on task while working at home? Yeah, yeah.
I mean, both of us have horrific attention difficulties.
Yeah, especially today.
Yeah,
but go on.
But I mean, it's tricky. Like it is hard. Because there are definitely days where I'm just like, it will be 3 p.m. and I'm like, I don't even know what I did today. Like just hardly get anything done, and then you have to end up working late.
Yeah.
But I think like just trying to have a schedule where you just are like, I especially like try to go to bed around the same time. Yeah. And then wake up around the same time and just try to have a schedule where it's like I'm going to start work at 10 a.m. or whatever, and just like try to keep to your schedule.
Yeah, for me, I require to-do lists and a schedule, even and then you can be flexible within it, right? Like you try and keep to it as best you can, but there are always outside forces that stop you from doing it.
Yeah.
If I'm having real difficulty trying to get something done, I use a Pomodoro timer where it's like I'll just like set timers for like 15 minutes.
Okay.
You can do anything for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I take a 5-minute break. And often that creates enough of a groove for me that I kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
Like after like the second or third cycle of doing that. But yeah, like it's harder more than ever, like to do work. Keep in mind that you're not like a productivity machine, I think, is another thing.
Yeah, and you'll have days where you're just not going to get as much done, and that's how it is. Like,
and then you have that perfect day where you get everything you want done, and you're just like, oh man, I wish every day was like that.
Yeah,
just celebrate.
I almost wish I didn't have those days.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, just celebrate those days for what they are, and don't hold yourself to that standard like every day. Like,
I always hear, don't push yourself if you're having an off day.
Yeah,
or
and also
writer's block or whatever.
Leave a little something in the tank too.
Yeah.
Like I write down notes sometimes, but I've got to like a stage, like, you know, after doing this for a while, where once I clock out for the day, and that includes my personal work too, because you know it's not just me. I'm not just like a work machine. Like after 7 p.m., I don't even think about stories.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm lucky, I get that like moment of inspiration, but like most of the time I don't, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Like we're making stuff because we want to make stuff. We want makes us happy to make stuff and makes other people happy to see it. And hopefully maybe there's a career in that too. But like we're not here just to make stuff. Like I like I'm gonna like that's a very capitalist mindset where it's just like I'm put on this earth to just make stuff for other people and be constantly productive. It's like I want to make stuff because I love to make stuff, and I feel like I'm contributing something to society. And maybe that's like thinking very highly of myself, you know, where it's just like very self-important, where it's just like, but like I want to contribute something that people enjoy, and I feel like that's like one of my purposes in life. But also I'm an independent human being who likes to play video games and spend time with my wonderful partner and hang out with my pets, and I love my family, and I love my friends and cocktails, and I like to cook, and like we have other things that we love outside of this, and we don't just have to make shit all the time.
I mean, I think that's what's definitely taken us many years to learn.
A long time.
Like you don't work at nights, don't work weekends. I understand, you know, sometimes you'll have some really bad deadline or something.
It has to be the exception. It has to be the exception.
Yeah, like just don't. I feel like you just make worse stuff because you get burnt out faster, and then you can't produce that much stuff. You're just like, it's not saving you any time ultimately. Like it's just like not a good way to be. It's not sustainable, and like you shouldn't only be drawing all the time.
I burned myself out so bad I felt like I couldn't write for months at one point in my life. And it was dark. Like it's sad because you know it's something that I love to do and I didn't love to do it anymore. And I had to relearn that, and I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. Like sometimes you're just not gonna be productive. I understand day job, you gotta get something out most of the time, and it's harder than ever, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like there are other people who are gonna do that.
It's cartoon. It's cartoons.
that is like
we're just making cartoons. It's not. We're not curing brain cancer.
Exactly. I remember at like a very important juncture in our career, I was very kind of worked up, and we're talking to our lawyer about something. And my lawyer was just like, I'm going on my first vacation in years. So he's like, so I'm going to be gone for like 2 weeks. And we're in the middle of like working on something like pretty big. And I was like a little worried. I'm just like, well, what do we do? He's like, look, they'll still be there in 2 weeks. It'll be fine. And besides, it's the entertainment industry. Like no one's going to die. Like, and it's like, it's true. Like no one lives or dies by like our, you know, us making a cartoon or a comic. Like it's something that should be fun. And it can still be important, you know, but it's like, I remember he told me that, and like something clicked in my head for like the first time, where I was just like, I needed to hear that at that point. And you know what? That 2 weeks that he was gone, worked out really well for everyone. Like it's just like it at the end of the day, like, you know, what's gonna happen is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like,
my rule is, as soon as it's dinner time, I don't think about work for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
and making rules like that for yourself is what's gonna make you have a long career. Because that's what it's about for me, is just like I want to keep on doing this, and so that requires upkeep. We've got to really take care of ourselves in like a lot of different ways if this is your passion and you want to do it forever.
Plus, I feel like anytime I'm like, oh, I need to do work at night, then I get way less done the next day. Like it doesn't.
Oh yeah, it's like a sunk cost.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. So it's like you may as well just be like, look, I'll just do it in the morning. It'll be fine.
Yeah, just first thing when you wake up, and sometimes you need that. Like this morning, I needed to go straight to work, and usually I prefer not to do that. Like I have a schedule where I do some exercise, try and write something for myself. But this morning I sat down and I just had to get something done. So I just had my coffee and I did it. It was something I had left over from yesterday. Always leave something in the tank too, where it's just like, even if you're working on a personal project, like don't run out of gas. If everything's going great, that's a perfect time to take a break.
Yeah.
Leave something for tomorrow if you're inspired to.
Cool.
I hope this answered that question.
All great advice. This is all awesome. Yeah. I've caught up with questions. If anyone has any last remaining stuff, that just flew by, didn't it? Yeah. Did you both have anything you wanted to plug in terms of like links or social media, anything for anyone who isn't following you yet?
Yeah, I mean, like we post stuff on Instagram and Twitter with Becky and Frank on there.
Becky and Frank on pretty much everything here.
Yeah.
Thank you for the link.
And right now, like we're not posting like a whole lot other than, but like occasionally we're posting like illustrations and stuff on those platforms. No cartoons or comics right now.
You have a good backlog of stuff to check out though.
Oh yeah, you can find like a bunch of art. Like, you can go to our old Tumblr. You can see where we were.
And I have a backlog of stuff. I still haven't posted most of my star designs.
Yeah, like Becky's posted like a lot of like Steven Universe stuff, but yeah, we've still got like a treasure. It's one of those things of like we've got treasure trove of stuff to post, like of Becky's art, but it's like
going through and resizing everything and all that. Yeah,
I'm not gonna do that.
That's why I procrastinate.
I'm not gonna do that on the weekend.
Yeah. I'm not going to spend my Sunday doing that.
Oh,
cool. Well, hey, if there are no more questions, thank you both so much for being a part of this, and thank you to the audience as always for being here.
I love that we just got an excuse to chat for like.
Yeah, I know. Oh gosh. I also use this as like a good excuse to catch up with friends.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
well,
if you ever need us back for like any like specific.
Sure.
We kind of covered like a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
We have like weird careers, but if there's any specific aspect, we'll pop back on.
That was great. I mean, you're the first. You're the first guest to talk about publishing and books.
Yeah, I mean, like our like kind of direction on that. Like, I mean, we've done stuff for like Boom, and we've like done smaller short comics for like other publishers and stuff. But like for the most part, it's like self-pub, which is kind of like a different kind of avenue to take.
Yeah.
At the time, it seemed like the most natural one. But your mileage may vary. Maybe people just want to like, pitch something to a book company or
Yeah.
But yeah, like at the end of the day,
get that Scholastic money.
Yeah, see, like that's the thing. Turns out the book company's the most lucrative to work for. Who would have thought?
But hard to get.
Very hard to get. But yeah, like just make something. That's my final advice to everybody. Just make something for you.
Make stuff.
Make yourself happy. Make something small. Make something that you can conquer.
And you don't even have to show it to anybody if you don't want to.
Yeah, like
doesn't matter if it's $5 or $5,000. Just make stuff.
Yeah, just like. I don't know. It's like the whole point of doing this is for it to be fun.
Yeah.
If any aspect of like creating is making it not fun for you, like take a moment and reassess because and we have to do that all the time too.
And if you don't feel like making stuff, then don't.
Yeah. Or maybe it's that one specific thing that you're trying to make that you actually don't want to make, and maybe there's something else that's gonna like take your attention.
Yeah. Take
just like
breaks.
where it goes.
Yeah. Thanks to CTN, the audience, and Becky and Frank. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks with Lauren Faust, who creator of My Little Pony and
Lauren's
oh my
great.
gosh, tons of stuff.
Lauren's awesome.
Yeah. I think that's January 20th is 2 weeks from today. Yeah. So we'll be back then. Again, thanks everybody, and we'll see ya soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.